are active in the conversation about feminism and social justice warriors, you may have noticed that I've been talking to and hanging out with some anti-feminist YouTubers. This has apparently really confused people. There have been thousands of tweets and emails of people freaking out, like, what is going on? After all, I, Lacey Green, am the very pinnacle of a social justice warrior. My SJW-ness has been memified with statements like, everything is problematic and there are more than two genders and America is racist. But now, at pro-Trump rallies, I'm told by reliable sources, there's talk that I'm being red-pilled in the Matrix sense, not so much the pickup artist sense. The red pill is a meme that refers to this realization that the world isn't nearly as simple as you thought it was. The question, of course, is what is the truth? What is the truth? And how bad do you want to know? In some sense, I took the red pill a long time ago. It's why I do what I do. Last August, a viral video on Facebook caught my eye. It was about Nemes Quinn Melancon Golden. I definitely butchered that name, sorry. AKA Lactatia. He's a 9-year-old drag queen from Montreal. Since then, I have seen all kinds of, little things happening, little kid drag queens popping up on social media, which isn't that surprising to me. Drag is more visible than it's ever been. It's all over the internet, and of course, RuPaul's Drag Race. And although a lot of people seem to find Lactatia's story inspiring, there are some people who just aren't that stoked about it. The comment section on this video has thousands of accusations of child abuse, of sexualizing the kid. The criticism intensified again a few days ago when Lactatia was crowned the cover girl of an erotic clothing company called The House of Man. Now, Lactatia isn't wearing bondage gear in the picture. He's wearing a sparkly onesie, but this definitely didn't do much to, chill things out. In today's inauguratory episode of SOS, is it appropriate for kids to do drag? I think to really explore this topic, first we need some context. I mean, what even is drag? Field trip! So I just rolled up at my friend Dev's house. Dev is a perfect person to talk to about drag because he's a drag queen. Let me in! It's raining! I'm gonna die!
Well, you never see rain.
Californians don't fare well in the rain.
And I'm a witch and I'm gonna melt in it.
You and I, we met in kind of a cute way, actually.
We met through this kind of.
Yeah, we did. You wrote me a super cute letter online.
That was what? I probably wrote that letter 8 years ago.
Something. It was a while ago.
A long time ago.
You have come a long way, man. What is drag to you?
Drag to me is my specific art form. Drag is the way that I found that I'm good at expressing myself.
It's kind of like theater, right?
It can be, yes.
Yeah.
Drag is performative, but for me and for a lot of queens, drag is very personal. People will create these characters or these ideas that come from an internal idea of their character. Back in the day when drag first started, it was Shakespearean times. Women weren't allowed on stage because it was seen as vulgar, and so men had to play female roles in theater.
Is drag sexual?
Can be. So can any art form. Songs can be sexual, sculpture, painting can be sexual. It's all about how you want to express yourself. It's not innately sexual in nature. At its core, drag is bucking gender. Drag is this punk rock revolution against society's expectations.
Should we head over to the Abbey?
I think we should.
Entertainers tonight, put your hands ready. Until then, enjoy the hot seat of DJ Donovan Tail.
We're here at the Abbey. I spend about 2 hours doing my makeup. I like to take my time to look this crazy. The thing that I love the most about doing my specific drag is the fact that I get to be the scene kid that I didn't really get to be when I was little. So I get to be the scene girl, and I get to be the little punk kid, the little emo girl. And so my hair gives me life, and being around so many other talented people, it's such a fun environment. So some people see themselves in me, and some people are legitimately terrified of me. And I like both of those. I think that children doing drag, or any art in general, is amazing. Maybe not a nightclub, but I don't think nightclubs are for kids. I think it would have, honestly, from my personal experience, I think discovering drag at a younger age, and when I did discover it, I saw so much art and so much color in a life that I thought that I wasn't gonna get any love in. And I thought that my life was going to just be darkness, was something that really saved my life.
Well, that was fun. Let's get back to our tiny drag queens. To some extent, it's hard for me to understand the blind rage around this topic. As far as the House of Man shoot, I mean, yeah, I think it's perfectly reasonable for people to raise an eyebrow and say, you know, it's like if a kid wore a Victoria's Secret t-shirt in their magazine, you know, it's like, oh, well, the kid's not wearing lingerie, right? But they're still in the Victoria's Secret magazine, which is a magazine for adults. That said, the outrage about sexualization started way before the onesie drama. It started because he does drag to begin with. The way I see it, kids dress up all the time as their favorite characters, princesses, superheroes. You know, this is the same thing, maybe a little more glitter. What's the big deal? Some of the stuff that I have read, most of the criticism there is very one-dimensional. Oh my god, drag is gay. Like Greg Quinlan, who runs xgaytruth.com, he said this child is already involved in homosexuality and his parents are blessing it. The Western world has surpassed Sodom in its evil. Another ex-gay man, Stephen Black, says, we're witnessing the LGBTQ plus community embrace child abuse by cultivating mental illness by promoting drag in a child. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know this will eventually lead to sexual play. Oh. Being gay is evil, playing dress up leads to mental illness?
What year is it?
It's hard for me to sympathize with this point of view. Nobody is embracing child abuse, and that's a pretty serious accusation to lob at someone who lets their kid play around with their makeup. It minimizes the seriousness of what child abuse is and what it does to kids. And as for leading to sexual play, we're talking about a kid who likes to play dress up. Who's really doing the sexualizing here? 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 As I dug deeper, I read threads claiming that gay men supporting Nemesis are secretly pedophiles. This is a homophobic myth that has historically been embraced by people who see being gay as a type of mental illness. In the 1970s, 70% of people believed this about the gay community. Today, these beliefs are much less common, but these attitudes obviously persist despite a mountain of evidence to the contrary. Drag is about breaking the rules. It's subversive, especially for those who grew up at a time when drag was super duper stigmatized and underground. It's pretty powerful to see this kid just out there doing this, expressing themselves in the ways that a lot of people haven't been allowed to in the past. It's sort of a hint or a reminder that maybe, just maybe, the world is becoming a little bit more of an open and accepting place. And at the very least, can't we all get down with that?
Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Mundane Matt, and you might be asking yourself, Matt, what are you doing looking at the Twitter account of Alison Rapp? Doesn't she have you blocked? What are you, a misogynistic shitlord? A stalker motherfucker? The answer to those questions are, no, I'm not, but this is something worth discussing. And yes, I'm blocked by Alison Rapp, even though I've never actually tweeted at her. So there's that. But she's had a day. Actually, she's had a whole month. And it ended today when she tweeted out just a little bit ago. As many of you know, the last couple months have been quite a whirlwind of controversy and GG harassment, GG meaning Gamergate. Today, the decision was made. I'm no longer a good, safe representative of Nintendo, and my employment has been terminated. Yeah. So if you're new here, you're probably asking yourself, what the fuck happened, Matt? This is your job. You're supposed to explain this to us. Okay, quick rundown. So there's a game called Fire Emblem Fates that was being globalized sometimes to And as a result, some people wanted some content to go from reality to possibility of a narrative. It wasn't dialogue voices, anything after this hashtag called that was a direct result of this. And Alison Rapp here is a PR rep for Nintendo, especially the Treehouse division, which handles localization. And as a result of that, she was wanting to be like happy to be talking to people who are mad about the situation, and she kind of to her work account. Now, if you look here, this is her LinkedIn page. As I said, I'm blocked, so I can't look at her, at her Twitter, but I can look at her LinkedIn. And she is a product marketing specialist at Nintendo of America. Now, well, she was. This will probably be changed in the next day or so. So you might be asking yourself, what does this have to do with anything? How did she get fired? What the hell happened? Is it just because she had feminist ideas and she was mocking people on Twitter? You'd like to think that that was the case, right? You'd like to think that that was the way this whole thing went down. I'd like to think that, at least. It might make me feel better about being associated with some of the people involved in this event, but no, it's not what happened. So one of the things that I've learned from being in Gamergate for nearly 2 years is that people like to dig. And there are people out there that are exceptionally good at it, right? And when they were digging into Alison Rapp, of whom they didn't like her opinion or her rhetoric towards gamers in the localization and whatever, they decided to see what they could find. And as a result, they came across her thesis paper, which I believe was titled Speech We Hate, Anti-Child Pornography Laws. And so she outlined objections towards laws and enacting against child pornography. Her piece can be boiled down to 3 points: that the consequences of consuming media containing child pornography are exaggerated, that child pornography constitutes free speech, and that Japan's laws are a byproduct of cultural imperialism from the West. Which are her personal fucking opinions. To be perfectly honest with you, those are her personal fucking opinions. They mean dick all to me. But the title of this Medium post from Gamergate Revolt digger John Kelly, a person I have zero respect for, says Nintendo's public relations employee Alison Rapp now vocal for pedophiles, as if that's not the most tabloid-esque, Jezebel fucking inspired article title ever, right? Because that's really about what he says in it, is just that. Is just, that's how it boils down, her particular beliefs. But if you read what she has to say and you look at everything she's basically saying, she's not advocating for pedophiles. She's saying that there is a cultural difference between the East and the West, of which there clearly is. That we view sexuality in different countries. We look at it through the same lens, but ultimately it varies depending on where you're at, right? Because what is it? In Russia, it's either 12 or 14, I think, was the legal age for a while. I think, do I think a 12-year-old is down for, it's like old enough to have sex? No. 14-year-old? No. In some states in the United States, I think Texas is 16, whereas Oregon, where I live, is 18. California is 18. It varies from state to state. I think some states are even 17, right? It varies. It's not a broad concept. It's not like a standard concept. But, what she's basically saying, in her opinion, is that there are differences and that the way the West forces itself on the East is having a problem. In her opinion. But that opinion was enough to get a lot of people to start trying to use it against her. And somebody was able to get a hold of Jamie Walton, who is the president and co-founder of the Wayne Foundation, an anti-sex trafficking organization, who then basically was able to get that information, become enraged by that information, and then submit it over to Nintendo of America, who apparently was not aware of Alison Rapp's comments. Now, this was on March 1st, 2016, and it's been a torrential shitstorm ever since. Okay, it's kind of died down. I thought it was personally over until it popped up today that she had been terminated. So people have been asking, I said on Twitter, I don't know how to feel about this. I don't know how to feel about this because I ultimately feel that while she's a horrible PR person and that should have cost her her job, and ultimately that's what Nintendo will say cost her her job, I think we can all read through the bullshit here and see precisely what happened. I think some people got it in their head that she's advocating for pedophilia, that she's thinking that it's okay, that she's trying to make sure that everyone can do it, and they used it to get an anti-sex trafficking organization to contact her work to get her fired. That angers me. That disturbs me. That bothers me. And for those of you out there that are wondering why that does, I don't agree with anything Alison has to say. Similar to how I don't agree with what Bahar Mustafa has to say. But I will defend their right to the death to say it. It's their fucking opinion. It's their fucking opinion. Hey, what's going on, everyone? My name is Mundane Matt. Once again, sorry for the kind of fucked up voice. I am still sick, trying to get over it, but I had to make a follow-up video to the one I did yesterday about Alison Rapp because a lot of people aren't too happy with me about it, and that's perfectly fine. There's been a lot that's gone on with this. Some stuff known, some stuff not known. Some stuff's been widely circulated, other stuff hasn't. And I'm going to try to go through it the best that I possibly can. Okay, so in my video yesterday, I talked about her being fired. I basically, equated members of Gamergate, not the whole of Gamergate, but some people involved, as going on a witch hunt and looking basically to get blood. And they did, right? Now, some have told me that it wasn't many people, that it was only 8 people involved in Gamergate that actually did this. This comes from a Netscape 9 video, which I will link in the video descriptions. I disagree with that, right? I disagree with that because he goes on here to say that 1,200 people voted on this thread by Aaron Joney saying attempting to get people fired for holding problematic views is exactly the sort of thing you're supposed to be against, which is true, absolutely true. And I believe that point was echoed in my video yesterday. But there are 50 some thousand people on fucking Kotaku in action. So 1,200 people upvoting something is not small, but it's also not indicative of the entire board. So there's that. But that aside, I stand by my original claims that the people in Gamergate that were advocating for her to be fired, and you know who the fuck they are, they were going on a witch hunt. And when you dig, you're going to find dirt. That's just how it goes. So she says here, age of consent here is 18, in Japan is 13. Furthermore, they've had a long history of sexualizing adolescents, which is fucking true. Watch any anime. How many guys do you know have jokingly said, I fapped to Misty on Pokemon? You all know at least one. Right? Young girls in Japanese culture and anime are sexualized. There's no other way around it. It's their culture. That's what they choose to make. You know what I mean? Like, people around here fucking love that shit. How many people do you know love Sailor fucking Moon? Right? You're telling me Sailor Moon isn't sexualized in any stretch of the imagination? You're telling me Misty from Pokemon, to an extent, from the original series, isn't partly? I mean, come on. There's things there that people are willing to overlook. So that's kind of what she's saying here. Today she says, okay, this is from February 2012. So again, like 4 fucking years ago. And people's opinions might change a little bit in the process. Again, going back 4 years to find these kind of tweets is a little bit dumb. People's opinions do change. But anyway, she says, time to lead the discussion about legislation targeted at protecting children from pedophiles. And no follow-up to that. I even looked at the actual tweet and still no follow-up, really. It's just a discussion. She says protecting children from pedophiles without any other speculation. So we don't know what her context was. Like I said, subtlety and nuance have no place on Twitter. It makes it hard to attack this sort of thing because you have no way of understanding what she meant by it. You don't know what her motives are. But people on the internet are going to fucking make any kind of grab they can at some kind of meaning behind it to fit their narrative, which is something social justice warriors do. And we know this. Going back to my point about the witch hunt and how I quoted Bob Chipman, there are no bad targets, just bad tactics, because it's one and the same. She says here, well, I actually argue in favor of less strict laws, read child sexual agency depictions of sexualized minors. Depictions, more or less meaning anime or images in Japan. I think animated kiddie porn was made illegal just recently. People had like a year to get rid of their stash. Okay, and this is also from April 7th, 2012, before that law went into effect, right? So this is 4 years ago, before that law even went into effect. I even have a video about it too, where I talked about that, right? So again, this is from a long time ago, and the laws were different back then. They've changed since then. And then this one here is the biggest point of contention. She says, this kind of legal bullshit pisses me off. And she links to an article where a gentleman had people break into his house. They found kiddie porn. Then they contacted the police. The police went in and arrested the guy. All right. And I think she's more or less bitching about like violation of privacy and shit like that, And again, the way that I'm coming at this, so we're crystal fucking clear. I view sexual attraction to children or childlike individuals as a form of like a sexual fetish that stems from a deep mental trauma. We don't have a good basis for mental health help here in the United States. In fact, it's very taboo. So imagine a person who has a very sexual fantasy that is already taboo, that hasn't acted upon it but feels shunned from society as a result of that. Seeking mental help for that is going to be very difficult to do because they don't know the avenues to go down. And that is something that definitely is going to spurn a problem. Okay. And that's the way I see it. I don't support it, but we, especially in this country when it comes to children, especially in this country when it comes to children, have a kill it with fire mentality. If you don't understand something, destroy it. And I think when it comes to Alison, people didn't even bother to understand. They didn't even bother to understand, and they wanted to kill it with fire.
Like, hey guys, so recently Lacey Green made a video being like, hey, I want to be like more open with people who disagree with me, and that was awesome. Let the record show, I've always liked Lacey Green. Just yesterday, Milo Stewart made a video where he's like, hey, I've said some bad things in the past that I don't really necessarily like the way I worded them. Like, I want to be open to criticism. I want to start ignoring trolls. And I was like, yeah! And a year or so back, I was very much one of the people who believed in the trans trenders, who would see people like Milo Stewart and Riley Dennis and go, you're not a man, you're not a woman, stop pretending. And so I would call them out on this stuff. I'd be like, you don't want to take hormones, you don't want to get surgery or anything, you're fake. And the reason this was because you guys know I grew up with a trans person. He is my best friend. And I saw a lot of the shit he went through. And to me, like, Milo and Riley were just like, it's fun! It's fun to be trans! Woo! I can be a girl and then I can be a guy the next day! You know, the whole thing. To me, calling out this was protecting trans people. Me saying, you're not really trans, was me going, like, please don't lump these people that are just, like, pretending and having fun in with the real trans people. So to me, it was like, I was actually passionate about the things I was saying. Recently, and very recently, like 6-8 months, I don't even know, I've been just reflecting on that, and I don't know what goes on in people's minds. I don't know what goes on in their lives. I don't know what they do. All I know is what they put on YouTube. And Riley and Milo looked like they were having fun. They were all like body positivity. They were like, you're trans, but you know, you don't have dysphoria, that's fine, blah, blah, blah. It was all very positive. And again, that was me going, that's not what trans is. Like, trans is like mentally anguished, blah, blah, blah. Like, the thing is, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what these people like. I don't know what they're feeling. I don't know whatever. It's like, again, I'm really sorry if this video is just ADHD all over the place. But it's like, sometimes I come out on Ask FM and stuff, and I talk about my depression, and I talk about my anxiety, I talk about my OCD and stuff like that, and people are like, wow, I didn't notice that, you're always like so happy, just because they're not super open with the internet. And again, you guys know, because I made a video a few weeks ago or a week back where I'm like, I don't know about these non-binary things anymore. I don't know. Bill Nye fucked my shit up, by the way. Bill Nye fucked all the shit up. I still don't know. I don't know the genders thing. I don't know. I've come to the conclusion that if you're not hurting anybody, it's not a big deal, and you can call yourself whatever the fuck you want. But like, I feel like it's not my place to look at somebody like Riley Dennis and go, you ain't trans. Like, I don't know. And the whole non-binary thing, I'm starting to think, like, yeah, there's no backing by science, but if people feel this way, isn't that enough backing? Isn't that, like, I don't know, like...
No, I don't agree with having an age of consent law at all.
No? Why not?
No, I think they're ridiculous. Whenever you impose an age, which, as you just said, is wholly arbitrary.
Yeah.
What you say is that 100% of the people below this age are all too stupid to make a decision, whereas 100% of people above this age are all presumptively able to make the decision, and neither assumption is a safe one.
Yeah, I agree. I think that The thing is, it is broad, but I do see why there are people who would want age of consent laws.
Oh, I know why there are people who want laws for all kinds of things. It's about control.
Yeah, but I mean, protecting teenagers from the depredations of older, presumably men, but I'm sure in a lot of cases women.
Yeah,
I can see that.
Then all you need there is a law that deals with consent, where consent has the classical common law definition, where a person is said to meaningfully give free consent when they are not unduly influenced into making a decision they wouldn't otherwise make. And I haven't played this card with people much until about the last year. Now I'm kind of getting up in people's faces when they talk about age of consent. I was well under the age of 11 when I started having sex, and so what I like to do is put people on the other side of the argument. It's like, what you have to do is you have to say that someone like me, not anybody else, but me, that I was too stupid to appreciate the nature and quality of what I was doing at the time. So please convince me I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah, I think it depends on the child, really, doesn't it? Because some kids.
That's what the Catholics say.
Well, it's true, and it's true though. It should really be a case-by-case basis. But I can see why the whole thing. But it's not really something I'd ever put too much thought into, to be honest.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, I think one of the reasons that the adults I was screwing around with liked me is because my dick looked so much bigger. Their dick looked so much bigger in my little hands.
Jesus Christ.
Oh, I'll tell you a joke. This guy I was dating, who we'll just call the guy I was dating at the time.
Mm-hmm.
The first time he and I had sex, I tell jokes sometimes when I'm having sex.
As you do. It's alright, I do as well.
Yeah, he's about this is the first time we're having sex, and he's about halfway in, and I just looked at him and said, "Oh my God, you are way better at this than my dad."
And did that just get him harder, did it?
Oh yeah. Yeah, he went from 12 to 6 immediately. It took like a half an hour to coax him out of the shell.
Yeah, I can imagine. Holy shit.
I was like, look, buddy, we met like 20 minutes ago. You better get this shit back up and let's get going.
God. See, this is why I couldn't be gay. That's too much pressure, man. Just...
having to all those gay boys' dads, is that what it is?
Yeah.
But why were you deplatformed?
I was deplatformed because, people misrepresent my views and say that, because I had this opinion last year that I wanted to perhaps consider reducing the age of consent for children.
Right.
And
when we say children, I think we should be specific.
Exactly.
I think you mean teenagers, don't you?
Sure.
Yeah.
And
I don't think you mean like 5-year-olds or something, do you? Or do you? You might.
Tell
me what your opinion is.
Now that's now you see, I think that 14, 13-year-olds, if they decide to have sex with adults, it should be fine. And many people have done it secretly, and that should be fine. Now in terms of, and I think that's completely reasonable.
Well, it's controversial because people have a kind of mental block in their minds when they talk about this. That sounds like you want adults to prey on children. But
exactly.
It's actually not as controversial as you think. For example, I think in the Netherlands, the age of consent is something like 12 or 14. So you're being treated like you're a terrible criminal, but that means the Dutch are terrible criminals as well.
Exactly.
So, well, look, it is an arbitrary choice rather than based on scientific evidence or something like that. So
I think it's completely fine if it's consensual.
Well,
yeah, definitely.
That's your opinion,
yeah.
and I hold different, and that's fine. But the point is, what age are you thinking should be the age of consent?
Wait, but first I'd like to do the myth con.
Okay, so why? Just get into this because I'm curious. Why? I mean, what age would you think was appropriate to have an age?
I would say it's all right to eliminate it entirely, and you might think whoa, that's scary because now 5 years old would technically be legally allowed to have sex with adults.
Yeah.
The reason that's fine is because 3 to 5 year olds, if an adult has sex with them, they probably wouldn't be, wouldn't consent, certainly, yeah. Sure. And they'd still be punished because there are still rape laws.
Right, yeah.
So if let's say somebody doesn't, footage of an adult having sex with a 5-year-old, it goes up on, and then like a judge sees it, he'll probably rule in favor that it's rape.
Yeah,
so,
that's only because the age of consent laws mandate that a 5-year-old is unable to consent. And so any sex with a 5-year-old is rape. So what age would you set the age of consent law? Because there would have to be some kind of... Because otherwise, why would it go to a judge? Why would a judge...
I don't think you need that little arbitrary line of age.
It is arbitrary, that's true.
Yeah, exactly.
After sharing my pro-pedophilia views online, my Twitter account has been permanently suspended after being flagged by huge amounts of people. If you look at the comments section of my recent videos on pedophilia, you'd obviously notice hundreds, maybe thousands of comments calling for my videos and channel to be removed, threatening me with the FBI, saying I should get deported, imprisoned, and even killed. What the fuck is this? This looks like the comment section from brainwashed Singaporeans in my anti-Singapore government video, or Muslims in my anti-Islam video. And the audience in the West that watched my videos on pedophilia is not the insane religious right or the inarticulate Texas redneck. These are the skeptic viewers that were attracted by my anti-religious videos directed from channels like Logic or Sargon of Akkad. This community that is flagging my videos and sending me death threats is the community that fervently promotes logic, free speech, and a civilized battle of ideas. What is this hypocrisy? Now, I'd like to preface this by saying that although I've had numerous calls for my videos to be removed, it doesn't necessarily mean that majority of the skeptic community wants me to be deplatformed. Whether or not majority of the YouTube skeptic community thinks that I should be censored or sent to prison for my views on pedophilia, I have absolutely no idea. But what I do know is that the people calling for my channel to be removed exist in very significant numbers from this community. This kind of absolutely disgusting and savage response to a person whose opinions you disagree with, even if it was to actual murderers and rapists, I would outright condemn. No matter how horrible a person can be, how would you think that it is appropriate a response to threaten harm on them? Which is why it's even more appalling that this kind of reaction is done to me. As much as you like to misrepresent my views on pedophilia, the fact is, I do not promote sexual abuse or violence towards anyone. My opinions on pedophilia is a completely non-violent opinion. Of course, most of you would have heard that I was originally planned to give a talk at Harvard, but Harvard, because of just that one single opinion on child pornography that I made that they disagreed with, they canceled the talk. I wasn't even going to talk about child pornography during that speech. And further context, these supposedly pro-free speech students from the Harvard Open Campus Initiative, who I assume are mostly liberal, gave a platform months ago to a right-wing white supremacist for an open discussion with students. These mostly liberal Harvard students, I assume, would disagree with far more than the white supremacists than me. But just because it's more socially acceptable to platform a white supremacist instead of somebody who has pro-pedophile opinions, these people from Harvard are slaves to conformity. Pro-free speech, my fucking ass. And of course, the Skeptics Convention MIFCON, i.e. Mythicist Milwaukee, who initially gave me free access to the convention, but after hearing about my opinions on child porn, not only removed the free access, but outright banned me from even attending. Seriously, even passively attending the conference, I was not even allowed to do. Like, I bought the $55 ticket, I went into the conference, I saw a part of the armored skeptic and shoe-on-head speech, then I went for a toilet break, the organizer accidentally passed by me, and then afterwards saw me and said, I had to get out. And then he got like these big-ass security guards to escort me out of the convention. Like what the fuck is this? Like, am I back in Singapore? So my Twitter account was suspended, I was deplatformed from Harvard, I am banned from a skeptics convention, and hundreds of people from the pro-free speech skeptic community is calling for my videos to be taken down and for me to be sent to prison just because of one fucking opinion that they disagree with. The skeptic community, I assume, has a far more logical and reasonable demeanor than the typical average Joe. Like, imagine if it was not the skeptic community, but the typical brainwashed American religious cunt that watched my videos on pedophilia instead. They would fucking crucify me. America, land of the free? Suck my oblong dick, this is absolute horseshit. Friends, I know many of you completely disagree with my views on pedophilia, and it is a very emotionally charged topic. But if you truly value freedom of speech and freedom of expression, you have to speak up for my rights to continue sharing these opinions, and you have to condemn the people who are trying to censor me. I don't think in America I'll be sent to prison for my views on pedophilia, at least I hope not. But say I do indeed get arrested for my completely non-violent pro-pedophilia stance. Are you going to have my back? Like how you did when I was arrested for my anti-Singapore government and my anti-religious videos? Are you going to condemn the people who are calling for me to be censored, banned, or even imprisoned and killed for my beliefs? If you don't want to be a hypocrite, if you want to be consistent with your beliefs, if you truly value freedom of speech and freedom of expression, you have to. And I hope you do.
Okay, so I'm watching Dankula's stream with Amos Yee, and Amos is trolling the shit out of you. I just can't believe anyone thinks he's not trolling. It's incredible. I mean, listen.
Yeah, it's amazing when it's fucking legal.
I would think that. I would think it's ideal if like a child can be introduced to sex as like quickly as possible. So yeah, I really would think that a kid having dick would be a good idea, buddy. Honestly. Okay, but let's say.
Barry, what benefit is it to the kid? What benefit?
Because sex is cool, and the kid wants dick. Let him have the dick.
The kid. How do you know that? You don't know that.
There are many stories of kids who wanted dick and pussy. So.
No, I don't know what fucking websites you've been going on. Right, but
anyway, look at his fucking face. He's just having a great time violating social norms. That's what he's doing. Because it's true, we do oppress paedophiles, and with good reason. We should oppress paedophiles. There are some people who need to be oppressed. Those people are criminals. There's criminals, paedophiles. You know, any brand of criminal has to be oppressed. That's what we have to do to prevent them from committing their crimes and to create a chilling effect. You know, that's true. That's a good thing. That's the way, the natural order of society, and that's how things should work. It's the only way they're going to work. So, but what we have, and this is a concept I've been working on a lot, is what Dankula's talking about is the ideological conceptions of age of consent and laws about child consent and things like this. Amos is actually talking about manifest physical harm. The idea of the thing and the thing in and of itself, right? And so Dankula can say, yeah, we're going to outlaw paedophilia because even though there may be a small number of cases where it's not harmful, we can't legislate specifically for those cases. We have to legislate broadly to make sure that we're making sure those cases don't happen. Amos is arguing in defense of the cases which, I'm just assuming his premise, I don't know whether this is true or not, the cases where it's a consensual relationship, presumably with like a 10-year-old and a 20-year-old or something. You know, like conceivably maybe, and this is what Milo was arguing for. He's saying, look, it didn't harm me. You know, Milo's the example where he enjoyed the relationship and found it beneficial, and that's what Amos is defending. But in principle, we say no, because, you know, I mean, even if not most of them are, but I imagine most of them really are, abusive, like Dankula was saying. That's the distinction that is being talked past here. And nothing Dankula says can disprove that the small number, at least, you know, ideologically, he can't disprove the small number are are not harmful. You know, he can't prove necessarily that these are harmful relationships, because people like Milo exist and say, hey, I didn't find this a harmful relationship. But Amos is clearly taking this as an opportunity to troll the shit out of people, and to, through a process of not unsound logic, but just incomplete logic, to be able to say babies want the dick. That's what all of this is. It's an elaborate ruse so he can say babies want the dick and the pussy. That's what it is. I fucking promise you. Honestly, I find this... I actually genuinely find it hilarious. I'm not gonna lie. It is some pretty top tier trolling, because a lot of people have been fooled by this. But trust me, this is a fucking massive troll. And you can tell by the look on Amos's face when he's laying it out to Dankula. He's loving violating the social norms that we have. And it's fine, let him do it. I just find it funny and ridiculous. You know, it's like, hey man, it's your reputation, you know. I do some pretty fucking stupid stuff in the name of trolling, but this... it's above my pay grade, that's all I'm saying.